Hey everybody, Kevin here. I'm doing a little bit of a different mode here for this forecast update. We're just going to focus on really tonight and tomorrow and the storms that are expected, I'll say later today, tomorrow. And you can see on the radar in front of you here that we have another round of these showers that is moving through. And this is going to be kind of the story today. It's just kind of going to be on and off rain throughout the day. Haven't really seen much heavy rain yet. We've seen in Hill County here just a couple of pockets of some heavier rain. There was some heavier rain in Kaufman County earlier, but overall in our area, it really hasn't been too terribly much. Now, I will say, as we get into the afternoon hours, we will probably see more heavy rain settle in. So, I mean, you can see the HR model already showing some heavier rain. I think the HR model might be exaggerating things a little bit. In fact, let's go ahead and go to the latest run there. We're about to come up to the 1 o'clock models, which will give us a little more of the kind of the long-term look, but I doubt there's going to be a lot of change there. So this really, as we go through, this is 3 o'clock, kind of shows a little bit of a break, maybe 5, 6 o'clock, a little bit more coming through. And then here we see the 8 o'clock hour. So as we get into tonight, again, the HR model might be exaggerating a little bit here, but as we get into 8, 9, 10 o'clock, it does show a little more coverage, does show some heavier rain out there. And then this is kind of the expectation, is the trend that we will see over the course of the next several hours here as we get into tonight and overnight. We get into 1 a.m. here, and you can see most of this is along and west of I-35E. Most of especially the heavy rain. And then as we go forward to 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., this is where we start to get, this is 3 a.m., this is where we start to really organize more of this activity to the west. And then moving eastward, I will say I'm not seeing the kind of organized line of storms that we were seeing yesterday in terms of those model projections. Even this morning, it started to kind of lean away from that, more of a disorganized, just kind of broad area of precipitation. So this only goes through 5 a.m., but I will tell you that the overall trend here, and you can see, is across our area, just more heavy rain with possibly a more linear mode here on the leading edge as this system really starts to move. As that really starts to push more eastward, then we could very well see more of a linear function, a linear mode here take shape and then move on eastward going forward from there. And this is looking at 5 a.m. I'm curious to see what the NAM says, because the NAM and the HR models have kind of debated the timing back and forth. And so, I mean, it's all been within 4 or 5 hours of each other, but at the same time, one of them brings everything through, at least the heaviest activity, through around 4, 5, 6 a.m. One is closer to 7, 8, 9 a.m. And that can be a big difference to people, right? That's the difference between, the early commute for those of you who need to be somewhere 4 or 5 a.m. And then, the later kind of 9 to 5 commute and getting to school. So there's a big difference there in terms of how it actually affects people. So I will continue to monitor that. But the good news is the models have stayed pretty consistent of at least most of this moving out by 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow. Now, a couple of things I want to point out is first is the rain amounts. I've been saying anywhere from 1 to 4 inches of rain, I think is realistic. And if we go here, this is through, really that goes through the weekend, but really, I mean, we're not going to see any kind of rain after tomorrow. So this is through that period. Excuse me. We look up here to the north, and that's where we start to see, 2, 3 inches of rain forecasted. This is the national database of National Digital Forecast Database. I always get that wrong. So, I mean, here you see inch to an inch and a half, maybe a little closer to 2 inches in Ellis and Johnson counties. And I think that's kind of a fair low end forecast. If we look at the HR model, go back to that, which again, may be exaggerating a little bit. Let's go to a longer projection here. And again, we're going to get models at 1 o'clock from both the NAM and the HR. We'll have those throughout the afternoon coming in. But what I will point out to you is on the HR model, which let me just review this again. And yeah, so that's giving us, again, this is through tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, I mean, this is pulling 3 to 4 inches into the Metroplex, and even in our area, 1 to 3 inches of rain. So the HR model might be kind of our upper end, right? And you hear me say all the time that models are statistics, and so you got to find out where's your high end, where's your low end, where's your mean, right in the middle. Maybe some of your outliers and those kinds of things. The NAM model. Pretty heavy-handed with the rain here. We were talking, 6 inches, 4, 5, 6 inches. And so, again, some of the hourly models are looking at anywhere from 1 to 5 inches. I think 1 to 4 inches of rain possible is really going to be the way to go. A lot of this, of course, will be dependent on who gets rain in, who gets more persistent downpours, right? Persistent, repetitive downpours, I think, is the wording that I've been kind of sticking to. Where is the heavy rain just kind of hanging around, and where are the downpours just, one after another? So those will be some of the deciding factors there. I don't think everybody is going to see extreme rains or anything, but there will be some places they get that. I do also want to point out that we've had in the last hour or so, we have seen a flood watch that was issued from the Metroplex North. So basically from the Metroplex on up to Sherman, Paris, Bonham, the the Red River up there, not including our area. So as we saw in these projections, the Metroplex North is where they're expecting a little bit more certainty of those heavier rain amounts, but that does not mean that our area can't see some flooding rains, especially those flood-prone areas need to be paying attention to this. And I think that ultimately here, those heavier amounts will probably be a little more isolated, which may be why we don't have the flood watch here yet. They may be waiting until later today or maybe tonight to issue one for our area. So I won't be surprised if there's a flood watch or a flood advisory or something that includes our area at some point. But I think at the moment it's been isolated enough, and the projection of those higher amounts looks isolated enough for our area that there's not a widespread expectation of some of these heavier rain amounts. But I will be watching for any of those alerts to come our way as well. Now, beyond all of this, we get into the forecast for the next several days, and things clear up. Again, early afternoon tomorrow, midday, early afternoon tomorrow, we should be drying out. And then we're warming up, and we're in the mid to upper 60s Friday and Saturday. Then we're in the 70s through the beginning of next week, at least the first half of next week. Tuesday looks like it will cool down. I'm not certain exactly how much it's going to cool down. Maybe one of these things. It's looking like we may be in the 50s in the northern part of North Texas, and then closer to our area, maybe closer to the 70s. So Tuesday is a little bit unclear on exactly how warm or cool it's going to be. Kind of depends on how the air moves. But several warm days after this. But we do have to get through this afternoon, this evening. We do have a area-wide, a marginal risk of severe weather. And I don't think that they really changed it, because a lot of the time they'll update around 11 o'clock or so and change it, but I don't think it changed all that much, at least not for our area, that all of us are included in a marginal risk of severe weather. And then this is going to translate over, not quite the right button there, this is going to translate over to morning. Now, keep in mind that the timeline here, one ends and another one begins right around 7 a.m. So because we're going to have some of this activity right in our area right around then, that's why it's included in both. But it's generally, for tonight, tomorrow morning. So that's kind of the way that timeline works. But it's just a marginal risk at this point. Not looking at anything serious. We could have some small hail, gusty winds with a few of these stronger storms, but it really does not look like it's a major deal. But nonetheless, you do want to be informed, which is why I put the link out for Weather Call. And of course, if you go back and you can look at more information on that, but that's going to give you weather alerts to your phone. You'll get a text message for most watches, and then you'll get a phone call for a lot of the warnings and the more urgent messages. And the phone call will be my voice as well, so you know that it's something that I'm directly supporting and a part of. But it's a good tool to have, and you can go to South Metro Weather/weather call to learn more about that. But for the moment, this is mostly going to be a rain event. Unfortunately, it does look like tomorrow morning's commute will be impacted by this. Again, there's still some debate on whether this is going to be an early morning deal, 4, 5, 6 a.m., or are we looking at 7, 8, 9 a.m.? There's still some debate among the models. I want to see what they say around with the 1 o'clock run. So between 1 and 3 o'clock, the HR usually comes in pretty quickly. The NAM model comes in a little later. And so between those two, I want to see what the timing looks like on those to see if we have a better idea of what to expect. But, either way, we'll probably have rain going on through at least 12, 1, 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Really, the difference may be when the heaviest of this is coming through, whether it's the early side of the commute or the later side. So I will continue to monitor that for you. Just a quick forecast view here. Not really that much detail to share other than the fact that it's going to be very wet over the next 24 hours or so. And as we get into tomorrow afternoon, things finally dry out and we're done with the rain, at least for the forecast period. And we're going to be getting quite warm. 76 degrees for Monday, mid to upper 70s for Monday. That's pretty warm. That's about 20 degrees warmer than where we would be for that time of February. So it's pretty dang warm in terms of our temperatures, and I know that will be welcomed by many out there. So, God forbid if there's some flooding damage and those kind of things, a leak in your roof or something, it'll be a good time to call those roofing companies, Synergy Roofing or whoever, call those contacts and get those folks up on your roof to check that out. So thank you so much for watching. We'll have more updates on this throughout the rest of the day today. I will probably be up a lot tonight. Tomorrow morning I may be pretty exhausted, but at least tomorrow afternoon maybe I can get a nap in, and we'll continue to watch this for you and bring updates as these showers and thunderstorms continue across our area.